The grand Coliseum of Vektor Prime was packed to capacity. 24,000 beings from across the galaxy crammed themselves into the tiered seating, their varied anatomies squeezed together in uncomfortable proximity. The air smelled of exotic foods, alien perfumes, and the unmistakable stench of anticipation. I, Zorn Tavik, Chief Security Officer of the Galactic Entertainment Guild, watched from my private booth as the crowd roared. My 6 eyes blinked in sequence, a nervous tic I developed over 300 cycles of service. Another day, another bloodbath, I muttered to my assistant Pels. Pass me the schedule. Pels, a small purple creature with tentacles for limbs and a remarkable talent for organization, handed me a holographic tablet. Final match is generating unprecedented betting activity, sir. The odds makers are going crazy. I scrolled through the day's events with a talon. Standard fare. Monster versus monster. Gladiator versus gladiator. The occasional execution of war criminals disguised as entertainment, but the final listing made me pause. Is this a joke? I asked, pointing to the screen. Human versus the Krell pack. 1 human against 6 Krell beasts? Pels rippled his skin, his species equivalent of a shrug. The human volunteered. Volunteered for suicide, you mean? I shook my head, my throat sacs inflating with irritation. The Krell will tear him apart in seconds. This isn't entertainment. It's a public execution. The human paid the entry fee, Pels said. 5 million galactic credits. In advance. I nearly choked on my fermented spore juice. 5 million? Where does a human get that kind of money? Unknown, sir. But his paperwork is in order. Name's Jack Harlow. No criminal record, no outstanding warrants, just a human with a death wish and deep pockets. The crowd's roar intensified as the current match concluded. On the arena floor below, a 6-armed gladiator from Rigel 9 stood victorious over the twitching form of a Venusian swamp beast. Blood of 3 different colors stained the sand. This human, I said, frowning. Has anyone explained what Krell beasts are? In detail, sir. He signed the waiver acknowledging that the Galactic Entertainment Guild bears no responsibility for his imminent dismemberment. Splendid. I drained my drink. At least we won't get sued by whatever remains of him. The arena lights dimmed. The crowd fell silent. The announcer's voice boomed through the massive speakers. Sentient beings of the galaxy, prepare yourselves for the final match of the evening. Holographic displays lit up around the arena, showing close-ups of the 6 Krell beasts being led into holding pens beneath the floor. Each creature stood 3 meters tall, covered in armored scales that could deflect energy weapons. Their 6 limbs ended in claws that could tear through starship hull plating. Their jaws, filled with acidic saliva and teeth like serrated daggers, could crush durasteel. In the Red Gate, the announcer continued, 6 of the most ferocious predators from the Death World Krell, and defeated in 16 consecutive matches. The crowd went wild. Many species had lost colonies to Krell beast infestations. Seeing them die in the arena was cathartic entertainment. And in the Blue Gate, a challenger from the backwater planet Earth, making his arena debut, Jack Harlow. A confused murmur rippled through the audience. Most had never heard of Earth. The few who had knew humans as merchants, diplomats, or occasional mercenaries, not arena fighters. The Blue Gate opened. A single figure walked out. I leaned forward, all 6 of my eyes widening. The human was unimpressive. Perhaps 180 centimeters tall, with dark skin and close-cropped hair. He wore no armor, just a simple black garment covering his torso and legs. No weapons. No protective gear, just a human, walking calmly towards certain death. This is embarrassing, I muttered to Pels. Have the medical droids ready. We'll need to clean up whatever the Krell leave behind. The human Jack reached the center of the arena and stopped. He stood perfectly still, hands relaxed at his sides. The crowd's confused murmur grew louder. Release the Krell beasts, the announcer shouted. 6 trap doors around the perimeter of the arena slammed open. 6 Krell beasts charged out, their roars so powerful the sand vibrated. They converged on the lone human from all sides. I covered 4 of my eyes, leaving 2 open out of professional obligation. I can't watch this slaughter. But the slaughter didn't come. The beasts stopped. All 6 of them, simultaneously, about 10 meters from the human. They lowered their massive heads to the ground in perfect unison. The arena fell silent. "What in the name of the 7 moons is happening?" I whispered. Pels was frantically checking his datapad. "Sir, this is unprecedented. Krell beasts never submit. They're apex predators. They fight until death." The human Jack turned slowly in a circle, making eye contact with each beast. Then, to the astonishment of everyone present, he walked toward the largest Krell, extending his hand. The beast, a scarred monster that had killed 17 gladiators in its career, whimpered like a newborn cub. It nuzzled the human's hand. "Cut the transmission," I ordered, standing up so fast I knocked over my drink. "Something's wrong. This human is using illegal tech, mind control devices or pheromone manipulators." "Scans show nothing, sir," Pels replied, his tentacles moving frantically across multiple screens. "No tech signatures, no chemical releases. He's just standing there." The crowd's silence had transformed into angry shouts. Millions in bets were at stake. The match promoters were losing control of the situation. I grabbed my security communicator. "All units, prepare to enter the arena. Detain the human for questioning." Before my security team could mobilize, Jack Harlow did something even more astonishing. He climbed onto the back of the largest Krell beast. The creature allowed it, remaining docile under his touch. The human looked up, directly at my private booth. Despite the distance, I felt as if his eyes locked with mine. He smiled. Then he leaned down and whispered something in the Krell beast's ear. All 6 creatures roared in unison, not their battle cry, but something else, something that sent shivers down my spine segments. "What's he doing?" I demanded. Pels was shaking, his color changing to a pale blue. "Sir, I think he's talking to them." The human patted the neck of his mount, and all 6 Krell beasts turned toward the VIP section of the arena, where the match promoters and highest-ranking officials sat. The creatures began advancing, slowly and deliberately. Panic erupted. Officials scrambled from their seats, security barriers activated, throwing up force fields between the beasts and their targets. The human made a small gesture with his hand. The lead Krell beast reared up and smashed through the force field, as if it were made of paper. "Evacuate the arena," I ordered into my communicator. "This is not a drill." Full evacuation protocols. Chaos ensued as 24,000 spectators rushed toward the exits. Meanwhile, Jack Harlow and his Krell beasts methodically cornered the match promoters against a wall. I grabbed my personal sidearm and headed for the emergency lift. "Pels, access the arena defense systems. Be ready to flood the floor with paralytic gas." "Yes, sir." Pels was already initiating the security protocols. 60 seconds later, I emerged onto the arena floor, flanked by 12 of my best security officers. We approached cautiously, weapons drawn. The human sat casually on his Krell mount, while the match promoters cowered before him. The other 5 beasts formed a protective circle around them. "That's far enough," Jack Harlow said, his voice surprisingly gentle. "I'm having a business discussion." I raised my weapon. "Release the promoters and surrender yourself. You're in violation of multiple Galactic Entertainment Guild regulations." The human actually laughed at me. "Am I?" "Check your rulebook, officer. There's no regulation against befriending the arena creatures. Your mind control technology is forbidden." "I'm not using any technology." He patted the Krell beast's neck. "Rex here and I just have an understanding." "Rex?" I sputtered. "You named it? They all have names." He pointed to each beast in turn. "Rex, Duchess, Baron, Count, Earl, and Lady. Aristocratic names for aristocratic creatures." One of my officers whispered, "Sir, scans confirm no technology signatures. Whatever he's doing, it's not tech-based." I kept my weapon steady. "Explain yourself, human. How are you controlling these beasts?" Jack Harlow slid down from Rex's back and approached me, completely unconcerned about the weapons aimed at his vital organs. The Krell beasts remained still, watching his every move. "I'm not controlling them," he said. "I asked them for help. And they agreed. Krell beasts don't communicate with other species. They're mindless killing machines. The human smiled a disconcerting expression that didn't reach his eyes. That's what everyone thinks. That's why they're captured, tortured, and forced to fight for entertainment. He gestured to the trembling promoters. These gentlemen have made fortunes exploiting creatures they never bothered to understand. One of the promoters, a wealthy Centaurian named Grek, found his voice. This is outrageous. I paid good money for those beasts. Jack turned to him. Yes, you did. And now you're going to pay good money to release them. Lekisisis, all of them. Every Krell beast in captivity throughout the galaxy. I lowered my weapon slightly. You came here to negotiate a ransom? I prefer to call it a conservation fund, Jack replied. 5 billion credits transferred to the account I've provided will secure the immediate release of all captive Krell beasts and their safe return to their home world. Grek sputtered with rage. 5 billion? You're insane. Kill him, security chief. To kill this delusional human. I considered my options. The arena was evacuated except for essential personnel. My officers had clean shots. But the 6 Krell beasts were poised to attack at any provocation. How do I know you won't order these creatures to massacre everyone, even if the ransom is paid? I asked. Jack's expression softened. Because I'm not a monster, Officer Tavik, unlike some in this arena. He looked pointedly at the promoters. I just want the Krell to go home. And how exactly did you gain their cooperation? No one has ever communicated with Krell beasts before. The human tapped his temple. Earth is a death world too, officer. We evolved alongside our planet's apex predators. Some humans retain the ability to communicate with predatory species across the galaxy. It's not technology, it's biology. One of my officers whispered, Sir, there are legends about humans like this. The Verdant Collective calls them beast whisperers. I thought it was a myth. Thief. I studied the human carefully. If what you say is true, why haven't we encountered your kind before? Because we stay hidden. Jack replied, we live quiet lives. Until we hear the psychic screams of creatures being tortured for entertainment, then we get involved. At that moment my communicator buzzed. It was Pels. Sir, urgent news. Similar incidents are being reported at 17 other arenas across the galaxy. Humans controlling combat beasts, making identical demands. The realization hit me like a gravity hammer. This wasn't an isolated incident. This was a coordinated operation. Jack Harlow smiled again. But this time it reached his eyes. So, Officer Tavik, shall we discuss terms? Or would you like my friends here to demonstrate why Krell is classified as a death world? I holstered my weapon. Stand down, I ordered my team. Then to Jack, let's talk. The human nodded approvingly. Wise choice. Now, about that 5 billion credit transfer. As negotiations began, I couldn't help but wonder what other surprises humans had in store for the galaxy. If they could communicate with Krell beasts, the most feared predators in known space, what else were they capable of? And more importantly, why had they kept these abilities secret until now? Little did I know. This was only the beginning of humanity's revelation to the galactic community. The arena incident would soon be known as First Contact Day, the day when humans stopped pretending to be just another spacefaring species and showed their true nature. A nature that would change everything. The negotiations lasted 3 standard hours. I watched with fascination as Jack Harlow, an unassuming human with no weapons or armor, dictated terms to the most powerful entertainment moguls in the galaxy. The Krell beasts remained vigilant throughout, their massive bodies forming a protective perimeter around their new human friend. The terms are non-negotiable, Jack said, his voice firm but calm. 5 billion credits. Transfer initiated within 24 hours. All Krell beasts released and transported to their home world under supervision of human conservationists. Grek, the Centaurian promoter, had gone from outrage to resignation. This will bankrupt half the fighting arenas in the sector. Find a new business model. Jack replied without sympathy. One that doesn't involve torture. I maintained a professional distance, my security team forming a second perimeter beyond the Krell beasts. Reports continued to stream in from across the galaxy, 17 simultaneous incidents, all following the same pattern. Humans entering arenas alone, taking control of supposedly mindless combat beasts, making identical demands. "There's something you're not telling us," I said to Jack when there was a lull in the negotiations. "Why now? If humans have had this ability all along, why reveal it today?" Jack's expression darkened. "Because 3 days ago a Krell cub was captured for the first time. They're preparing to breed them in captivity." He glanced at the beasts surrounding him. "That crosses a line." One of my officers, a Thraxi named Vorn with extensive xenobiology training, stepped forward hesitantly. "Sir, may I speak?" I nodded. "Get." "The Krell homeworld was only discovered 50 years ago," Vorn said. "But humans have been part of the galactic community for over 2 centuries. How did you know about Krell beasts before we did?" Jack smiled enigmatically. "Who do you think guided your exploration ships away from Krell all these years?" "We've been protecting both species from each other, until now," I observed. "Until now," he agreed. My communicator buzzed again. This time it was the Galactic Security Council, the highest authority in our sector. I stepped away to take the call, my mandibles tightening with stress. "Security Chief Tavik," said Counselor Drex, her holographic image floating before me. "Status report on the Vektor Prime situation." I summarized the events as concisely as possible. The counselor's 4 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation in her species. "This is unprecedented," she said. "We're receiving reports from across multiple sectors. The humans are coordinating on a scale we didn't think possible without quantum communication technology." "What are your orders, Counselor?" She hesitated, a rarity for a being known for decisive action. "The Security Council is divided. Some want to classify humans as a threat species and implement containment protocols. Others suggest diplomatic resolution. And you, Counselor?" "I suggest caution, Tavik. These humans have revealed capabilities beyond our intelligence assessments. That if they can control Krell beasts, what else might they do?" After ending the call, I returned to find Jack kneeling beside the largest Krell beast, whispering in its ear. The creature made a rumbling sound, not a growl, but something almost like purring. "Your council is afraid," Jack said without looking up. He stood slowly. "They should be." A chill ran through my spine segments. "Is that a threat?" "Die. A reality check." Jack approached me, stopping just outside of striking distance. "Humans have been playing nice for 200 years. We've been the diplomats, the traitors, the occasional mercenaries. We've hidden our true nature to make everyone comfortable." "And what is your true nature?" I asked, hand resting on my sidearm. "We're apex predators, Officer Tavik. Not because we're the strongest or fastest, but because we understand predators better than any species in the galaxy. We evolved alongside them. We learned to think like them, to speak their language. Then why the charade? Why pretend to be just another spacefaring species?" Jack gestured to the arena around us. "Because this is how the galaxy treats what it fears." We watched how the Galactic Alliance handled the discovery of each new predator species. Capture, containment, exploitation. He patted the Krell beast next to him. "If we had revealed our abilities from the start, humans would be fighting in these arenas too." Rek, who had been listening to our conversation, laughed nervously. "Preposterous. Humans aren't physically impressive. You're not even in the top 50 species for strength, speed, or durability." Jack turned to the Centaurian with a smile that sent shivers down my spine. "We don't need to be the strongest when we can make friends with the strongest." As if on cue, the largest Krell beast Rex stepped forward and roared, the sound reverberating through the empty arena. "The transfer has been approved," announced one of the promoters, holding up a data pad with trembling hands. 5 billion credits, as demanded. Jack nodded. "Wise decision. Now, about the transportation arrangements." Before he could continue, a massive explosion rocked the east side of the arena. Debris rained down as a section of the outer wall collapsed. Through the dust and smoke, armored figures poured in the Galactic Peacekeeping Force, an elite military unit answering directly to the Security Council. Their commander's voice boomed through an amplifier. "Surrender the human. This facility is under lockdown." 100 heavily armed soldiers formed a firing line, their weapons trained on Jack and the Krell beasts. I cursed under my breath. Counselor Drex must have changed her mind about diplomatic resolution. Jack didn't seem surprised. He sighed, looking almost disappointed, and here I thought we were making progress. "Mere reason." He turned to me. "Officer Tavik, I suggest you and your security team take cover." "What are you going to do?" I asked, torn between duty and the instinct for survival. "I'm going to introduce the peacekeeping force to some friends they haven't met yet." Jack raised his hand and made a complex gesture. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ground began to shake from beneath the arena floor. Something was coming. The sand erupted in a dozen places as massive creatures burst through not Krell beasts, but something else entirely. They resembled Earth scorpions but scaled up to the size of transport vehicles. Their armored carapaces glistened under the arena lights, and their stingers dripped with venom that sizzled when it hit the sand. "Death Stalkers," gasped Vorn beside me. "From the deep desert regions of Krell, they're supposed to be solitary hunters that even Krell beasts avoid." Jack walked calmly between the emerging Death Stalkers, stroking their armored claws as they gathered around him. "The Krell ecosystem is complex, Officer Tavik. These beauties normally stay underground, but they're excellent at siege defense." The peacekeeping force hesitated, their commander barking urgent orders into a communicator. "Last chance to withdraw." Jack called out to them, "We can still resolve this peacefully." The commander's response was to order his front line to prepare to fire. Jack shook his head, genuinely regretful. "Wrong choice." He whispered something to the nearest Death Stalker. All the creatures suddenly surged forward in perfect coordination, not toward the soldiers, but toward the arena walls and support columns. They began digging with incredible speed, their powerful claws tearing through reinforced concrete as if it were sand. "What are they doing?" I asked, watching in confusion. "Creating an exit strategy," Jack replied. He turned to the Krell beasts and made another gesture. The 6 creatures moved into formation around the trembling promoters and began herding them toward one of the new tunnels. "You're taking hostages?" I couldn't keep the shock from my voice. "Insurance policies," Jack corrected. "They'll be released unharmed once we reach our destination." The peacekeeping force began advancing cautiously, their weapons trained on the Death Stalkers. Their commander addressed me through my communicator. "Security Chief, withdraw your personnel immediately. This is now a military operation." I hesitated, weighing my options. The situation had escalated beyond arena security protocols, but something about the commander's tone troubled me. "They're not here to capture me, Officer Tavik," Jack said quietly. "They're here to eliminate me and anyone who's seen what humans can do." A cold realization dawned on me. The Council wasn't afraid of a ransom demand. They were afraid of the knowledge spreading. Humans could control the galaxy's most dangerous predators with a gesture and a whisper. "Come with us," Jack offered, extending his hand. "There's much more you should know." Behind him, the Death Stalkers had completed a massive tunnel leading deep beneath the arena. The Krell beasts, with the promoters in tow, were already disappearing into its depths. "I have a duty," I replied, though my resolve was weakening. "To whom?" "To what?" Jack's eyes held mine. "The truth is worth pursuing, Security Chief." The peacekeeping force was 50 meters away and closing. Their weapons hummed with lethal energy. I made my decision. "Pels," I said into my communicator, "initiate emergency protocol Nexus 7. Pels acknowledged with a single click. Throughout the arena, hidden vents opened, releasing a thick cloud of smoke that quickly obscured everything from view. It wasn't standard procedure, it was my personal contingency plan for when political forces overrode security protocols. "My team and I will come with you," I told Jack, signaling to my officers, "not as prisoners, but as witnesses." Jack nodded, seemingly satisfied. The galaxy needs honest brokers for what's coming next. We hurried into the tunnel as the sounds of confused shouting and erratic energy fire echoed behind us. The Death Stalkers sealed the entrance with remarkable precision, collapsing the passage as we descended deeper. The tunnel opened into a vast underground cavern that I never knew existed beneath the arena. More surprising were the dozen humans waiting there, each surrounded by various predator species from across the galaxy, wolves from Arcturus, shadowcats from the Balerian Rift, even a pair of void mantis from the forbidden zones of deep space. "Welcome to the sanctuary," said a human female, stepping forward. "I'm Dr. Alana Parker, xenobiologist and coordinator of the Predator Conservation Initiative." "You've been operating under the arena?" I asked, incredulous. "Under every major arena in the galaxy," she confirmed. "We've been preparing for this day for decades, building an underground network literally and figuratively." Jack joined her, the Death Stalkers following him like obedient pets. "The 5 billion credit transfer was never the real objective, Officer Tavik. It was a public statement and a distraction." While everyone was focused on the arena floors, Alana continued, "Our teams were accessing the breeding facilities below. We've liberated over 10,000 captured predator species today. The scale of the operation stunned me. This isn't just about Krell beasts." "It never was," Jack agreed. "It's about rebalancing the relationship between humans and the rest of the galactic community. For too long, we've hidden what makes us unique. We've played the role of junior partners, weak newcomers just happy to have a seat at the table. While the Alliance captured and exploited the very creatures we evolved to understand," Ilana added. "The galaxy's natural balance has been disrupted. Entire ecosystems have collapsed without their apex predators." A nearby display screen activated, showing real-time footage from across the galaxy. Arenas in chaos. Predator transport ships changing course. Breeding facilities emptied. "Today marks the beginning of the restoration," Jack said. "Each of these creatures will be returned to their native habitats under human supervision." "And if the Council resists?" I asked. Jack smiled. "They already know the answer to that question. Every Council member has received the same message being broadcast to every corner of settled space." On the screen, a human woman in simple clothing stood surrounded by a menagerie of the galaxy's most feared predators. Her voice was calm but carried absolute authority. "For 2 centuries, humanity has watched the systematic destruction of galactic biodiversity. Today, that ends. We are the shepherds of the predators, the guardians of nature's balance. We offer partnership, not domination, cooperation, not submission. But make no mistake, we will not negotiate on the fundamental right of every species to exist in its natural state. The era of exploitation is over." I watched, transfixed, as the message repeated in every major galactic language. It wasn't a declaration of war, but it wasn't far from it. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now," Jack said, "we wait for the Council's response while our work continues. Every predator species will be cataloged, treated for captivity-related injuries, and prepared for reintroduction to their native environments." Pels approached, his tentacles agitated. "Sir, I've been monitoring Council communications. They're divided. Military action has been proposed, but the logistics are impossible. Humans are integrated throughout galactic society. A strike against Earth would trigger predator responses on thousands of worlds. They've just realized they've been living alongside a guardian species," Alana said. "It will take time for them to adjust to the new reality." As if on cue, my official communicator signaled an incoming message from the highest possible authority, the Grand Arbiter of the Galactic Alliance. The holographic image that appeared showed an ancient Tlexian, his crystalline exoskeleton reflecting prismatic light. "Security Chief Tavik," he intoned. "Your presence is requested at an emergency session of the Grand Council. Bring the human representatives." Jack and Alana exchanged glances. "It appears diplomacy is back on the table," Jack observed. The Grand Arbiter's image flickered. "We have received your demonstration of capability. The Council recognizes the validity of your position. We propose a summit to establish new protocols for ecosystem management and predator species conservation." "A promising start," Alana said cautiously. "We will attend," Jack told the Arbiter, with appropriate security. The meaning was clear. They would come with their predator companions. After the transmission ended, I turned to Jack. Was this your plan all along? Force the Alliance to the negotiating table? The plan was to save the predators, he replied. The negotiations are just a means to ensure it never happens again. And if negotiations fail? Jack looked around at the assembled creatures, dozens of species that had evolved on different worlds across the galaxy, all responding to human guidance. Then the galaxy will learn why Earth is classified as a death world, despite having no natural predators larger than a human. No natural predators, Alana corrected with a slight smile, except humans themselves. As we prepared to depart for the Grand Council chambers, I couldn't help but marvel at how thoroughly we had misunderstood humanity. We had categorized them as diplomatic, adaptable, and physically unimpressive. We had welcomed them into our alliance as junior partners, useful but unthreatening. We never stopped to ask how a species with no natural advantages had survived on a world teeming with predators. We never questioned why Earth's predator populations had declined so dramatically before humans achieved spaceflight. Now we knew. Humans hadn't survived despite the predators, they had thrived because of them. They had learned to speak the universal language of apex hunters. They had become something unique in the galaxy, a species that could walk unarmed into a pit of monsters and emerge not just alive but in command. As I watched Jack Harlow whisper instructions to a Death Stalker, I realized that humanity's greatest deception wasn't hiding their ability, it was hiding their nature. They weren't prey that had somehow escaped their planet. They were the ultimate predators who had chosen to show mercy, and now the galaxy would have to come to terms with what that meant for all of us. The Krell beasts, sensing our imminent departure, formed a protective circle around Jack. He patted the largest one affectionately. "Ready to make history, Rex?" he asked. The beast lowered its massive head in what could only be described as a bow. Jack turned to me with a grin. "Officer Tavik, would you care to join us on the council floor? I think having a non-human security perspective would be valuable." I found myself nodding. Fascinated despite my lingering concerns, I would be honored to witness whatever comes next. "Good," Jack replied. "Because after today, nothing in the galaxy will ever be the same." As we made our way toward the surface through secure tunnels, I reflected on the title that would soon spread across the galaxy to describe humans, the Predator Whisperers. A species that had hidden in plain sight, watching and waiting for the moment to reveal their true power. A power not of destruction, but of connection. A power that changed everything we thought we knew about the natural order. A power that began when one human walked into an arena, alone, and every combat beast lowered its head.